week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of the shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last thoughts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 278. Mr. Summit. It's good to see you. Happy Friday to you. How you doing today?
It's good to see you too, man. We actually saw each other earlier this week, like in person, real life, in the flesh. But we couldn't make it happen where we're both able to be in the same place to do this live. Although, I got to say, those live ones are a little awkward on StreamYard when you're both people in the same box. Aaron and Jared have been fighting with that for a little bit here.
Yeah, that was a really awkward. Well, they just didn't know what the hell they were doing. When I'm sitting here half asleep with feeding my son with one hand and telling them how to fix their audio visual issues with the other hand, that's how you know things were a little alcohol flavored this morning over at the Paul Withrow house. But yeah, no, I was shit. I'll just jump right into it. The best thing that I saw this week was seeing all of my horse racing friends. I went from seeing nobody other than my wife, the poor woman, for over a year, and then within the span of about 4 days, I saw. You got to meet Dr. Tang and hang out, which was really wonderful. Wish I could have been there all night. I wish I didn't have to run. But then before that, I was at Santa Anita for the first time since the pandemic had started. Got to see Geist Paddle and his family. Got to meet our two biggest fans, which was really awesome and exciting. So it was just all of that leading up to what this is the most excited I've ever been for a Belmont Stakes, even including when Justify had the Triple Crown on the line. I'm just really excited about this. I'm excited to talk about it with you, and that's why it was the best thing I saw. Yeah,
man, it's incredible right now. I mean, I'm going to actually kind of piggyback that off that. I mean, I've been to a Hurricanes game. I've been to Lone Star Park. I've been to Dodger Stadium. I got to have dinner with you and Dr. Tang. Like the reopening and being able to engage in sports again, be able to go to the racetrack and all this jazz, man, it's been absolutely amazing. By far the best thing I saw is just, being out here in LA and being able to go to dinner and see friends. We're going to dinner tonight with another couple that we're friends with. So it's just amazing to get back out there. And obviously, like, we have a huge weekend of racing to look forward to this weekend as well. Already started off on a nice little pop here. We're coming on right after a nice $3,100 cash for the Sama Bomb. So we're up for the weekend, which is nice too. So yeah, we'll just hopefully keep it rolling, keep the good times going, man.
Was it Pimlico Preakness weekend that you did that, where you started out with the early pick 5 and it paid for the weekend? Folks, this is why you got to buy the bombs. You buy it, you start early, you don't just spot it. You buy it early, you're taken care of for the weekend, $3,000 plus. So congrats to anybody who played Mike's $5 ticket. Congrats to you on that one, because you were telling me I only watched the last race when Public Sector won, but 4 out of the 5 races won by chalk. But you had that, you pressed your opinions where it mattered, which is something you always harp on, and then you really capitalized on that long shot.
Yeah, I mean, there was one race, actually 2 races, where I thought you could kind of get a price. And so it was a $5 ticket that had 3 singles, and the singles paid $2.90, like $3.20 and $3.50. And the winner in the last paid $6.80. But that other winner paid $32. And in a pick 5, that one $32 winner, especially in a race that got taken off the turf, and I think people really struggle handicapping those races sometimes, allows you to really balloon those pick 5s. And so we cashed a $2,600 ticket for $45 with 3 horses that paid sub $3.50.
Yeah, look at this. I love this. People are chiming in too. Quick shout out to Dave and Jordan. They both hit me up in the DMs early this morning asking if we were going to do a Magic Mike show. Yes, we did. I was like, we're going to do one. I said, I don't know when, I don't know where, but we're going to do one. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Mike, would you say that the best thing you saw was everything opening back up, being in LA, or did you have somewhere else you wanted to go?
Yeah, man, just to be able to go back to sporting events, being able to be at a baseball game and be outside, being at the Canes game last week, being able to see people for dinner, by far the best thing, especially since it's been 15 months since I've been out here. So it's great to see everybody.
Well, we're going to be looking at the late pick 4 sequence, the all stakes late pick 4 sequence, I should say, at Belmont Park on Saturday, June 5th. It ends with, of course, the Belmont Stakes. Mike, let's not waste any time. Riders up. All right, Mike, first race we're going to look at is the Grade 1 $500,000 Longines, just a game stakes field of 12 fillies and mares, 4 and up, going a mile on the outer turf course. This is one of those ones that starts in a funny chute, so not as funny as if they were trying to go a mile and a 16th or a mile and an 8th here, but this is pretty much the Chad Brown show, Mike. You got 4 Chad Brown horses in here, including the favorite, number 11, Blowout at 4-1, with Flavien Prat aboard, and if you were watching Public Sector just a minute ago, you can see exactly what Flavien Prat can do on a Chad Brown trained horse. Definitely used her. I'll be honest, Mike, I used all 4 Chad Brown horses. I thought you could pretty much do one of 2 things here. I went with just use the 4 Chad Browns and moved on. The other alternative idea I had was to do what you're doing here. Who's your top play?
Yeah, I'm living on the edge here. We're using 2 of the 4 Chad Browns, and so I'm sure one of the other 2 is going to beat me, and you're gonna move on. I'm gonna be stuck at home here. But my top play, and this is one of those things where I talked about it quite a bit, especially when there's some rain in the turf. I kind of look to some of these European horses, and I look at a horse like the number 9 Summer Romance, who's 6-1 on the line, coming over from Europe here. Was running in France and Great Britain before running in the UAE. Charles Appleby brings 2 horses in for this race. This is the one I thought was a little bit better here. Look, the 9 horse is going to be forwardly placed, which I think is a massive key. I think the 11 Blowout is probably going to go to the lead, but the 9 horse being close to the pace, I think is going to be a huge advantage for a turf course that you saw is playing toward more of the closer to the pace horses. So I think that the 9 horse Summer Romance should be able to sit a wonderful trip right behind Blowout. I love the fact that you get Saez, who's a more aggressive rider. You're going to be kind of pushing that early pace. And this horse has done nothing wrong overseas. I mean, you look back at some of these numbers, got a 110 time form here. We had a 103 time form as a 3-year-old. It's going to be the first start off a decent layoff for a 4-year-old. This is a daughter of Kingman, who we talk about quite a bit, is a wonderful sire over there in Europe, stands for $198,000. I think it's all systems go here on Summer Romance. That's going to be my top pick at 6-1.
I think Kingman sires Public Sector, who, again, just won. Man, we're going to talk about Public Sector more than we're going to talk about the races in this damn sequence here. Listen, I liked it. I didn't go the Appleby route, but it was the other thing that I considered. And not only did you use 2 Chad Browns, those are the 2 I would have used in this spot. I think it does have the pace to it. My concern with both of these horses is that while they were running well in Meydan, they haven't been facing the American style of racing, and that is something that's very difficult for these horses to deal with when they come over, and I've been burned way too many times hoping, praying that as much as I love Appleby, brings them over. If they don't have that experience against American style racing where it's a lot more aggressive early, it can throw you off a little bit. However, to your point, Mike, because Saez is aboard, I have a lot more faith that you will see, if she wants to be forwardly placed, that she'll be there. If you had somebody like William Buick or anybody else who came over to ride, they're not nearly as aggressive, and so I wouldn't trust that they would do that. Top pick for me is going to be the 6 Pocket Square. If you were listening to the Magic Mike show on April 8th, the best thing that I saw was this horse winning on April 7th, because all winter and spring leading up to the Keeneland meet, Mike, we talked about Chad Brown horses not looking like Chad Brown horses. Your belief is that they just really hate the Gulfstream Park turf. Could be. This horse, when you saw her kick in, it was like, that's a Chad Brown horse. That is a Chad Brown superstar turf horse. The way that she kicked in to rally from almost last, get the win, and won very easily in that race. Now we're going second off the layoff. If you look at the horse's past performances, if you scratch out the amount of 5/16 try, which was probably way too long for a horse that seems to want to go a mile, hasn't done anything wrong. She won a Group 3 in France. I love that Chad Brown is showing faith by going straight from a second level allowance into a Grade 1 when he's already got 3 other more experienced horses in this race. He's going, this is who I think is going to be the star. I'm honestly surprised, Mike, that this horse is not the favorite. I kind of expect this horse to be the favorite, but maybe it won't happen. Maybe the lack of graded stakes success or experience in America is what keeps people away.
I agree with you. I think this horse may go off the favorite. I don't think Blowout will go off the favorite. So I do think Pocket Square has a good shot. I mean, the Pocket Square is my other must-use horse here. I would echo everything that you said. That Keeneland effort was an absolutely monster effort. We was over a good track. We're going to have a good track again over the weekend. So I think that's going to help. I also think, obviously Irad was in quite a spill on Thursday, but the fact that he was scheduled to ride this horse tips the hand of what Brown horse maybe we should expect the most from. And the fact that you have more proven horses and you're getting this horse with Irad up, I think tells you that they thought Irad thought enough of this horse to make the decision to go to this specific Brown horse. Obviously, again, not up, but because he at least was shown in the PPs here, I think it tells you something about Pocket Square, who looked amazing at Keeneland.
Before we move on, I'm glad you brought up Irad. And by the way, really happy that Irad only had some scrapes and bruises. I watched that race live, and I can't believe that both he and the horse were okay. Didn't suffer some serious injuries. It was really scary. But he's gonna be out for a couple of weeks, and it's just terrible timing because he's got what I think I heard Paul say 13 mounts, and every one of them's probably got a chance to win the race that they're in. So a lot of races, we don't even know who's going to replace Irad because in a case like this, you have a field of, 11 of them, 12 of them. You've got probably every good to great turf jockey in New York already has a mount in this race. So when you see that Irad is going to have to be replaced, do you handicap these things differently? Because I thought about it. I'm keeping it the way I have, and I have a theory about it, but I want to hear from you first.
I mean, I can't wait for Paco to pick up this mount, right? That's the logical one with him in town. Yeah, I don't. I mean, obviously jockeys make a difference, right? But this isn't a huge downgrade for me, depending on where we end up here, especially with this level of horse. I think the jockey makes a lot bigger of a difference when you're looking at. Those lower level 12K maiden claimers, things like that, where the jockey can really influence the horse a lot more. A lot of these horses are as good as they are. Obviously, trip matters, and being able to position and make right decisions makes a big difference. But at this level, with whoever you're going to get, I have a feeling it's going to be someone like Paco. You're probably going to get a pretty good replacement. So I wouldn't downgrade too much. The fact, again, that Irad was on here and how impressive that Keeling race was, it's not going to make a big difference for me. I am going to use two others in here. I'm not going to use one of the Applebees and not use the other. Bringing both of them over. Mike Smith is obviously a very capable rider for someone like this spot. The 8-horse Althaik is going to be coming from off the pace. And so you're going to need a little bit of the setup up front, but I think you'll get a pretty contested early pace. And then I'm going to use the 11 Blowout. We've already talked about public sector 3 times now on the show. Flavien Prat, man, putting on a clinic the last 2 days at Belmont, put on a clinic in Kentucky on the turf. I know I will say he's the best turf rider in the country for my money. I think you think it's rider period for your money. So getting Flavien Prat aboard Blowout, and a horse that, look, I love the way Flavien Prat rode this horse last time. A lot of times when you have a runaway horse, jockeys will try and get a handful of reins and just pull that horse back and not just utilize the speed. Sometimes going faster comfortably is better than going slower uncomfortably for a horse. Actually, all the time, it's generally better going for the horse. So the fact that Pratt let this horse kind of take a couple notches out, use his speed as a weapon, and was able to hold on, I think is important. You can trust Flavien Prat's going to give this horse the right ride. I think the Blowout will get to the lead, so I want to make sure I have him there. But for me, top pick's going to be the 9 Summer Romance. I like the 6 Pocket Square. We're going to end up 4 deep on the 50-cent ticket, and we're only going to use those 2 on the $2 ticket.
The only reason that Blowout is not already a grade 1 winner because she had that Matriarch 1 is because the horse that beat her from her own stable was the best Chad Brown older filly last year in Viadera. That's the only reason this horse doesn't already have that grade 1 notch on her belt. And by the way, Flavien Prat was aboard for that day too. So I'm with you on Blowout. Let's see. We talked about Pocket Square. The other 2 Chad Brown horses, I'll start with the one that I'm least in love with. It's going to be, if I can find the 10 Tama here. Second off the layoff, I think the big reason I like this horse is that she's won at Belmont before. She made her American racing debut in the grade 2 Sands Point, so Chad Brown putting her into a very tough race to start. Wins it. Irad was aboard all 3 times. We're switching to Javier Castellano. He's in the Hall of Fame. I'm not too worried about the jockey change there. This is a daughter of Wooten Bassett out of a Giants Causeway mare, so should be able to handle the distance, should be able to handle the turf, should be able to handle the give in the ground, which you saw last time out in the Jenny Wiley. Got a yielding trip. I think it's going to be a little firmer, but I don't think it's going to be firm on Saturday, and so I like the fact that this horse has done really well in there. And again, the second off the layoff is a good one. Also, by the way, the horse that was 5th in the Jenny Wiley was Maxim Rate. Came back to win a grade 1 at Santa Anita. Much less competition in that race, but still was able to go exit that race and go back to win. And then Regal Glory, this is another horse that loves ground that isn't so firm. 6 starts on less than firm ground, 4 wins, 2 seconds, and all of those in nice big graded stakes efforts here. She did scratch out of the race yesterday, the Intercontinental, to be in this spot, so Chad Brown could have won that race with the Regal Glory if he wanted to try, and he said, no, even though I've got Pocket Square and Tama here and Blowout, we're going to put Regal Glory in this spot as well. Jose Ortiz is going to be aboard. 4 wins at the distance. I like this horse, but I understand these are not the top 2 Chad Brown horses here, so if you wanted to mix things up like you're doing, no shame in that.
Yeah, and I would put Regal Glory in here if I was going to add another Chad Brown over someone like the 10-horse Tamahair, who I think is just doesn't seem to like to win enough for me. One horse I think at least deserves a little bit of a call, which is kind of crazy. The 3-horse Daddy's a Legend is 30-1 on the morning line. That seems a little nutty to me. I may sprinkle in a little Daddy's the Legend somewhere in some of these multi-race spots, just because that 30-1 morning line, a horse that likes this specific course with 3 runs of second and a third, and has the numbers to go back to point to a winner here. So I wouldn't completely discount Daddy's the Legend at 30-1 either.
Daddy's a Legend is a horse that I swear I think you've picked almost every time that she's been in a race that we've covered on Sequence. You picked her, and she hasn't won any of those, I don't think. But I think, for example, the Matriarch, I know she almost beat Got Stormy in that race in 2019. I'm pretty positive we covered that one, and she was a nice price there. For me, Daddy is the Legend. If I'm playing exotics, I think that she's got a strong. I think this is your best chance at getting a really nice price to mix up in the exotics here, especially if you're going to have a Chad Brown horse like the Pocket Square or the Blowout. If one of those two ends up winning at a short price, I think this is where you get your value in your exotics, definitely.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to have any short price, to be honest. I think that the fact that you have four Browns here is really going to spread some of that Brown money, and then you have the 2 Appleby horses. I think they're going to both take some money. So I think you're going to get a pretty fair price anywhere you go. And I think this is one of those races where if you do play a try or a super, you key someone on top, play a couple underneath, and play it for $5 or $2. Man, you can make some scratch. I mean, this one could combat stacks if you're right.
Well, one that you're going to have to probably invest a lot of money if you want to make some stacks on is the next race, race 9 on the card. This is the Grade 1 $1 million Met Mile. Only 6 males in here. However, all of them intact, which I found quite interesting. Ages 4 and 5 going a mile, a one-turn mile on the outer dirt, only dirt course. Favoritism is on the number 6, Knicks Go at 6-5, all the way on the rail. Number 1, Mischievous Alex at 5-2, looking for a new jockey. I read was the jockey in the last 4 starts. Really, this comes down to, do you think Knicks Go bounces back from Saudi Cup and returns as the horse that we saw win the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile and the Pegasus World Cup? Or do you think maybe he's kind of run out, or maybe he just isn't the same? And at that point, kind of a crapshoot here. What do you think?
Yeah, so I kind of approach this race with 2 different strategies. So I played the $2 ticket, and I used Knicks Go on top. I do think Knicks Go is the best horse, your most likely winner here. So I'm not going to completely, discount Knicks Go and what Knicks Go has been able to do. Mischievous Alex has been awfully good, though. I mean, this is one of the few horses. This is a horse that went from the John Service barn and then kind of came into the Saffie Joseph barn and has done nothing wrong since getting into the Saffie Joseph barn. Monster efforts in the last 3. 109 buyer in the Grade 1 Carter. Now we're stretching out to a mile to run in the Grade 1 Met Mile. And you got to wonder if Mischievous Alex runs that last race. That might be better than Knicks Go, and just period. So it's going to be all about what kind of pressure you see up front. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this race shapes out. But one thing, like I said, in the $2 ticket, I'm going to go 1-6, but I can make a legitimate case for every single horse in this race, even Blexitonian, who's a wild 20-1 shot in the morning line. I don't think that horse should be 20-1 any way, shape, or form. Just missed it like 35-1 last time out, and could easily take a step forward here, third off the layoff. So I'm going to pop the all button in that 50-cent ticket, because I think if you beat Knicks Go, it can blow the sequence up pretty good, even if it's like a horse like Dr. Post or Silver State. I think you're going to see a lot of 6-1s and a lot of 6 singles. So because of that, I'm going to hit the all button on the 50-cent ticket. And then on the $2 ticket, where I have more of my opinions stacked up, I'm just going to play the 1-6.
So I went 1-6 and actually in that order here, and I'm actually again, not that I want something bad to have happened to Irad, but with him not being on this horse, I think I'm going to get a much better price than 5-2, because I think you can almost directly tie, at least partially tie in this horse's rise and success with Irad riding him. And 5 times he's been aboard, he's won 4 of them, and 3 of those were graded stakes races. Saffie Joseph Jr. is a miracle worker. There's nothing else you really need to say about that. This horse has been working out like crazy. If you've been listening to the Magic Mike Show since the start of 2021, I've been predicting every step of where this horse was going to go. I've been correct so far. Out of the optional claimer, I say he's going to go to the Gulfstream Park Sprint. Who wins that? Let's go to the Carter. Out of that, go to the Met Mile. So this just feels like the natural progression for him. I was lucky enough to be on another show last night. Andrew Champagne and JD Fox. Champagne and JD is the name of the show. I retweeted. You can go check it out. We also went through the Belmont Late Pick 4. Those guys, it was really great talking with them, because they approach things very differently than you and I do. And one thing that Andrew brought up that I thought was a valid point with Mischievous Alex, as good as he looked in that Carter, Mike, if it's not Gulfstream and it's not Aqueduct, this horse hasn't shown up anywhere. Now, he hasn't gone anywhere besides those 2 tracks with Saffie Joseph, and that was my counter was, well, let's see what Saffie can get him to do at Belmont. But he hasn't shown an ability to take his form away from those two tracks. Nick's Go I'm going to use, but I'm really concerned that this is a big ask for him to come back against a horse like Mischievous Alex. Dr. Post is pretty classy as well. To come back from the Saudi Cup in that really bad defeat, that really bad run. There's a question here from, I forget who, Chris Mel says, does the one turn versus two turns affect Nick's Go? Nick's Go, 6 starts at one-turn races, just has 1 victory. It was his career debut at Ellis Park going 5 furlongs. He has never won going one turn. Now, granted, he does a lot of mile 16ths after that, but do you have any concern about the one-turn configuration here, even for a horse that on paper looks like he's just going to freaking fly?
I have more of a concern that he's facing more sprinters because of the one-turn configuration than I am necessarily the one-turn configuration. I think that you're going to see a little bit hotter of a pace because of the one-turn mile horses generally be sprinters stretching out versus, longer horses cutting back. So like Mischievous Alex has quite a bit of pace here. I mean, if Mischievous Alex wants to go 22:44, that means Nick's Go has to go 22:44. And then we're starting to get into an area where you get a little concerned. I mean, we've got that 21:44 with the Breeders' Cup win, but that track was a merry-go-round. You're basically on pavement that day. I mean, so if you got the lead, you're able to just keep going and going. And so I think that you could see a little bit of more pace pressure for Nick's Go because it is a one-turn mile. And then you have horses like By My Standards who can 100% run down a horse like this in the lane if they're able to get a shot at it. You got Lexitonian who can show speed and run those 21:44 type early fractions and cause trouble. And then you have a horse like Dr. Post. Dr. Post, second off the layoff as a 4-year-old, getting back to what this horse is good at. I mean, we like this horse off of that 7 furlong win. You see what this horse did at that one-turn mile, the Grade 3 Westchester last time out, runs a 104 Beyer. This is a logical improvement angle. If this horse logically improves up to a 108, 109, like all of a sudden this is a 3-horse race, not a 2-horse race. And like, that's why I ended up popping the all button here, because I think there's a lot of ways you can get around Nick's Go. And I think you beat Nick's Go with anyone. It's a bonus. You beat it with Nick's Go with anyone but Mischievous Alex. It's a double bonus and you really got a good shot at a payout.
Yeah, Griffin agrees with you, likes the all button here. I told you I actually approached this initially wanting to hit the all button as well. If there are any scratches in the 2 turf races where I went a little deep, I'm going to really seriously consider doing it. Silver State, I think, is the only thing against him is he's not really a very fast horse early, and I think he's going to be up against it without much pace pressure here. You brought up good points about Dr. Post. Lexitonian, Jack Sisterson, big days. I am scared to death of this horse, and especially because if you caught, I don't know if it was Magic Mike or Blinkers Off that you and Aaron did, after Colson was born, but I came on, I was like, I was ahead away from the biggest score of my life if he had just beaten Flagstaff in that Churchill Downs. And a huge reason I used him at 46-1 was Jack Sisterson on big days. So I am very scared about what could happen with this horse in this race. So if you like the all button, By My Standards was going to be in the Steve Sexton Mile, and they scratched for this based off the weather that you guys had in Texas. I think they're pretty happy that they did that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It probably wins that race based on the break that you saw from Warriors Charge, and Momosa ended up getting the job done because CZ Rocket was sucking some serious wind those last 2 furlongs. But yeah, it's a great spot for By My Standards. Another one that could easily win. You're getting 10-1 here. I mean, to me, this is, if we can beat Nick's Go, this is the place you do it. Coming back over from Saudi with pace pressure, going one turn. I mean, this is where you take a shot against. And so let's take a little bit of swing against.
One race where I'm not going to be taking much of a swing. The next one on the card, race 10. This is the Grade 1 $750,000 Manhattan Stakes for 4-year-olds and up, going 1.25 miles on the inner turf course. Favoritism, well, at least on the morning line, slightly 5-2 on Colonel Liam over Domestic Spending, the 4-horse at 3-1. They dead heated famously in their last race at Churchill Downs, the old Bourbon Forester Turbid Foot, whatever it's called, Classic Stakes. Mike, I watched that replay a couple of times. I didn't watch it live. I'm pretty convinced that Domestic Spending was not only the best horse in that race, but is going to be Chad Brown's best turf horse, gender not considered, age not considered, this year. I think this is the next big bricks and mortar style superstar for the Chad Brown barn. Did you make him your top pick?
Single him up, call him home, baby. I mean, look, this is second off the layoff as a 4-year-old Kingsman horse. We get Pratt up. Go, like you said, you mentioned watching that replay. I mean,
we're hitting all the same buttons: Kingman, Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt.
What, Domestic Spending was 4 lengths better? Man, I mean, that's an exaggeration. At least 2 lengths better than Colonel Liam. When you watch that trip, it's just brutal. He has to split horses, and Pratt, like elephant through a keyhole type ride, finds a hole through 2 different horses, and then has to duck out of Colonel Liam, and then literally closes 2 lengths of ground in 4 steps, like. Wild how fast that horse was able to go. I was just on WFAN earlier today talking about the races for tomorrow, And like I said, 3-1 is a steal on domestic spending. I'm looking for some fixed odds to see if I can get 3-1 on this horse for tomorrow, because I don't think you're getting anywhere near that. I'm going to single this horse up in the 50-cent ticket, which is what's allowing me to go all in the last race. And then the $2 ticket, I'm going to use domestic spending. I'm going to use one other horse. But did you have domestic spending on top as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I wouldn't have hyped him up as the next big superstar. Well, maybe actually I probably.
I don't know. You do some crazy stuff, man.
This is true. I did go 4 deep. I think that, and part of it is because there are 2 other horses that all last year love to follow, love to play. The 10 Colonel Liam, he's done nothing wrong this year. I think the only thing that hurts him is going to be possibly the post, if he can get all the way over from post 10. Again, I think of any horse that is going to suffer from missing Irad this weekend, for my opinion, it's Colonel Liam, because Irad was 5 for 5. The only jockey to ever win a race on Colonel Liam was Irad. And the fact that he keeps picking this horse when there are Chad Brown trained, Klarovich Stables owned horses facing him, that tells me something's up with this horse. I love Gouffo. If you guys remember, I loved Gouffo in the Saratoga Derby. Lost to domestic spending. Did not have domestic spending that day. That was the last time I ever let domestic spending beat me. Gouffo lost again to him in the Hollywood Derby. But in between, he won the Belmont Derby. And then he went to the Man o' War for his first start as a 4-year-old. Channel Cat got away with a stupid easy lead that should never have won that race. The only horse that was moving was Gouffo, and he was moving like a goof. Well, I can't say that word. He was moving really effing fast is my point. And he's the only horse that really seemed to be doing it. Christophe Clement has won this race 3 times. I really like him here. The last horse I did use, Masterpiece, I think this is the best of the other Chad Browns that are in here. Chad Brown has won this 5 times. He's looking for his second three-peat of this race. If anyone beats domestic spending from his own barn, I think it's Masterpiece. Second off the layoff, second time as a 5-year-old. The fact that Chad Brown, the first time he got his hands on a horse that didn't come from Europe, came from Chile, which is not going to be as strong of a circuit, and threw him right into a grade 1 off the bat. He's got faith in this horse. Gives him an allowance, nice little warm-up at Keeneland, and showed that he loves the good going instead of the firm going. Throws him in here. I think this is a good spot for him. But again, really, I think domestic spending should win this race.
Yeah, I mean, I completely going to just echo what you said there with specifically the 5-horse Masterpiece. I think this is just one of those horses that's clearly being set up for this race. You saw the first race over was in a grade 1 going 1.5 miles. And then, like you said, that allowance to just set up this race. I think Masterpiece is going to run huge here. I'm just using the 4 and the 5 in my $2 ticket. I think you can get through with those 2 horses here. And I think you have to respect quite a few other horses in here. But I'm not sure. I just love domestic spending so much. I don't want to go any deeper than 2. I think that's really as far as I need to go. And if I go further, I feel like I'm kind of wasting bullets on a $2 ticket, which is not something I like to do.
2 horses I want to bring up, and then we can move on. A couple of them price-wise. Number 2, Bye Bye Melvin, is an interesting one here. Michael Myers is in the chat. Brought this horse up. This is a horse first time out of a Dynaformer mare. So the bottom side says this horse can run 3 laps around the track and not be winded. This is the first time this horse is going to stretch out beyond 1 mile and 1/8. The 2 times it did it, the first time didn't go well in the Kent Stakes, but the second time, the Bryan Station Stakes, that was the Breeders' Cup undercard. That was that race that was won by the also eligible that was like 154-1, but came within a length of winning. Junior Alvarado is going to be riding for Grand Motion because Velasquez is going to be riding Channel Cat. But underneath-wise, do you intrigued by this horse? Because I think, again, for exotics, I think this is a great price play.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bye Bye Melvin is a horse that could get the job underneath. I think Gouffo, like you mentioned earlier, is a horse to get the job done underneath. I mean, Rock Emperor is another one that you could kind of make
the other one I was going to bring up, yeah.
Underneath. And I liked Master of Foxhounds last time out. And, I kind of like Master of Foxhounds a little bit back again. I mean, if we can replicate that 1.5 mile effort in the San Luis Rey, this horse is right there. And that was against United and it was against United and Say the Word, of 2 of the better horses out in California. So I think this is one of those where you could get kind of spicy underneath, even though I think it's going to be a little bit. I think domestic spending is going to go off as a favorite. I think it's going to be a little chalky on top.
Rock Emperor, I feel like if you listen to this, I've hated Rock Emperor. I hate that horse so much, and I've loved to play against him so much. 8 starts in America, 0 for 5 of those, he was the favorite. Loves to burn money and miss there, but now you're getting 8-1, and Chad Brown was finally like, something I need to change. He puts blinkers on him, and he thinks maybe this will work. He quoted, I forget what the horse was that did it, but he had a similar horse about 4 or 5 years ago that would train well in the morning. And then you get to the track, and he's like, God, I need to put blinkers on. But then he trains in the morning without him. Like, well, maybe he doesn't. He finally made the switch. That horse won this race. Are you concerned at all that the blinkers on and the price on Rock Emperor, that this is finally the time to get on that stupid horse?
I mean, yeah. I'm also concerned about the 9 horse, Trebahuven. I don't know. Chad Brown horse that wired the field last time and was able to beat Rock Pepper going wire to wire. Who's probably going to be your speed here? I mean, this is a contentious race, and so you really have to decide where you're going to take your stand, who you're going to play, and if you start like talking yourself into using 4, all of a sudden you're using all of them, and that to me is where it can get you into some trouble.
You really start falling down a rabbit hole there. Let's go to the 4th and final leg, the big granddaddy of them all, the Grade 1, $1.5 million Belmont Stakes for 3-year-olds, ending the Triple Crown Trail. It's been a much better Triple Crown Trail than what last year's was, because last year's never seemed like it quite ended. Your favorite is, of course, the number 2 Essential Quality, the 2-1 favorite here. Rombauer, 3-1. I think there's a little bit too much of a recency bias here. People thinking that, he won the Preakness against a bunch of horses that weren't good enough to go to the Belmont anymore. So, yeah, let's put him in here. And also, he wasn't good enough for his own jockey to stay on, because Flavien Prat, with the ding button, we mentioned his name again, is on the 4 Hot Rod Charlie instead of Rombauer. Where are you going here, Mike?
Man, this is kind of crazy. I can't believe I'm about to do this, but I'm going to take Rock Your World on top. I talked a little bit about this on Blinkers Off 500. This is kind of your lone speed here. I mean, we've talked about how good California has been with Rombauer winning the last race, Medina Spirit winning the Derby. Well, not anymore, but didn't want to cross the line first. So you had those 2 horses, and now you have Rock Your World coming back, who I don't see anyone else who can really contest this horse up front. Hot Rod Charlie is probably the most likely other horse that's going to be able to go out there, and I'm not that impressed with Hot Rod Charlie. And so if I don't love Hot Rod Charlie that much, and I think that, Rock Your World is good enough to get the distance, then I think Rock Your World becomes really, really dangerous. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use Rock Your World on top. And hopefully we can get that 9-2 price. I'd love to get every bit of that.
I think I'm with you. I used the horse. I went 3 deep here. I used Essential Quality and I used Hot Rod Charlie for a couple simple reasons. Essential Quality is by Tappet. Tappet horses love to win the Belmont. And Brad Cox, in April of 2020, the first time this horse did his work at Keeneland for Brad Cox turned to somebody and said, "That's a Belmont horse right there." Brad Cox knew before this horse even ran a damn race that this was going to be a Belmont horse. So who am I to second guess Mr. Brad Cox in this spot? Hot Rod Charlie, I think, Rock Your World, I'm with you. I think that's the speed. And if Joel Rosario doesn't treat this horse like Venetian Harbor and actually lets him use his speed early, I think this is a very dangerous horse. You need to be very close front running in the Belmont if you want to win, because it becomes a war of attrition. You've got 8 horses, and maybe 2 or 3 of them want to go this distance, and everybody's stumble bunnying home, but you can't let the people who are in front get too far ahead of you. Hot Rod Charlie should be positioned well for that. He's not as fast, I believe, as Rock Your World is here, so we'd be curious to see what Pratt and Rosario do, because if there's one person who I think could outride Rosario early and screw with him and take the lead and throw everything off, I'm going to put it on Flavien Prat to get the job done.
Yeah, I'm just worried that if Rock Your World gets out at all, which is obviously the key here, because Rock Your World is now broken poorly twice, the cruising speed of Rock Your World cannot be underestimated. I mean, we talked about this when we both picked Medina Spirit. We talked about the cruising speed of Medina Spirit. He's just faster out of the gate than these horses, and that is 100% true here as well. Rock Your World is just faster, and Rock Your World can go 23 comfortably and get a mile and a half. Hot Rod Charlie cannot go 23 comfortably and get a mile and a half. So Flavien Prat is really put at a disadvantage in that sense, where if he tries to go with Rock Your World, he's going to be sucking a lot of wind at the end of this race. And Hot Rod Charlie is a Johnny Tryhard horse. Love Hot Rod Charlie. Hot Rod Charlie is a classic underneath horse in this race to me. I think you could almost key him in third and say this horse is going to finish third, and kind of play some prices above him and play some prices below him. But I don't see how he doesn't finish third or fourth in this race. I mean, I would be willing to bet. I would take even money on just those 2 positions for Hot Rod Charlie, because it feels like that's where he's going to end up, and he's going to put in an A effort, an A- effort, but that's not going to be good enough to win. But it will definitely hit the board, it seems like.
Well, and I think when you were looking at 8 horses, one thing I was just thinking as you mentioned that he'd be a great lock for third or fourth. I'm like, okay, who can I rule out is probably not going to hit the board? Well, Overtook is going to be, it's going to be Sunday before he finishes this race. Known Agenda is going to be left with too much to do. I think that's a stumble bunny passing stumble bunny's horse. Francisco de Ina has early speed. You saw he almost took the lead on the backstretch of the Preakness, as he's running pretty keen. He does have early speed. He's shown it in the past, but European horses or Japanese horses do not do well when they come to the Triple Crown. I expect this horse to kind of speed and quit unless Ricardo tries to make one run with him, and I don't think he will. So right there, we've knocked off 3 horses, and then you're left with worrying about the number 1 Bourbonic, and no. Bourbonic, who won the Wood Memorial with a 14-second final furlong. Like, you're not going to get that against these horses. You're not going to pass those horses with that kind of a speed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you kind of broke that down pretty well. And for me, you talked about Essential Quality. Essential Quality is going to be my other horse in the $2 ticket. I'm also going to use them on the 50-cent ticket. I think Essential Quality should be your favorite. It's going to be the same spiel I gave you in the Derby. Essential Quality should be the favorite. Essential Quality is going to be a little bit too short of a price for me to really want to hammer. I think you're going to get close to 7 to 5 on race day. I think this is where a lot of the money is going to go. I've heard a lot of people pick this horse on top, and rightfully so. Essential Quality did absolutely nothing wrong going into the Derby and ran the best race when you adjust time per foot traveled in the Derby. So, with a better trip, which Essential Quality will get, because this is an 8-horse field, not a 20 or 19-horse field, you would think that, and without any distance concerns, because Essential Quality should have no problem with distance, this is a legitimate favorite and a very good one at that. So I'm just going to use the speed with Rock Your World, and then I'm going to use the best horse in the race with Essential Quality, and hopefully either speed plays out or the best horse is able to get it done to get this $2 ticket home.
On your 50-cent ticket, you used Rombauer, right? I'll let you talk about him a little bit.
Again, this is who can win the race to me. It's one of these three. I really think that this is how I see it. Rombauer, that last race, Michael McCarthy specifically had that horse tuned up for third off the layoff and was pointing toward the Preakness the whole time. Belmont's kind of, just the extra carrot in the bundle now. I think that Rombauer has a chance to run back to that race. And if he does, Rombauer's good enough to win this spot. And again, I've been talking about, I want the California horses. I want the Louisiana horses. And, Hot Rod Charlie is the one where I don't think he can win. And that's why I'm not using him, but I do think he'll hit the board. I think Rock Your World and Rombauer, both of the California horses here, have a legit shot at winning this race. And then I'm going to take Essential Quality. So those are the three that I'm going to use. I think they're the three most likely winners. Rombauer, I think, is and Rock Your World and Rombauer both win or may miss the board horses, whereas I think Essential Quality could win or was probably going to run in the top two.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for joining Mike and I go through this, especially on a Friday. We appreciate you joining us on a day that's a little different for us. But hey, you know what? It's the Belmont Stakes weekend. There's a lot of shit happening. We're happy that you're just here with us. We're going to go ahead and give out our tickets one last time. You can take a look below. We got it on the screen. I'll start off with my 50-cent ticket. I'm going to go 4, 6, 10, 11 with 1, 6 with 4, 5, 9, 10 with 2, 4, 7. That is a $48 ticket. Mr. Samich.
I'm going to go with a 50-cent ticket. I'm going to go 6, 8, 9, 11 with all, with 4, with 2, 3, 7 for 50 cents. That'll cost you $36. I'm going to roll back a $2 ticket. I'll go 6, 9 with 1, 6 with 4, 5 with 2, 7 for $2. That'll cost you $32.
If you didn't know, the Inside Track to the Belmont Stakes Wagering Guide is now available over at racingdudes.com. It is fully updated with the umpteenth scratch out of the Ogden Phipps, which went from being a very exciting race to, as Aaron so lovingly put it, the Azeri in New York. He said, I saw this. I didn't fly to New York to see that race, so he's no longer excited about it. Really sucks. For me, especially because I had Bonnie South as my top pick when she was 10-1 in a true 10-1 in a 7-horse field, and I was like, man, she's going to win, and I'm going to look like a freaking genius. And now even if she wins, it's like, okay, great. She won it 3-1. So kind of took the air out of my balloon there a little bit. But it is updated. It is ready to go. So if you haven't gotten the latest updates, you can go download it. If you haven't bought it yet, what are you doing? Go buy it while you're there. Get yourself some of those Samo bombs because, as Mike talked about, he already hit the early pick 5. The weekend is just beginning. We got a lot more to go here, Mr. Samich.
Yeah, man, you should feel lucky that those horses scratched because now Bonnie South can hit the board. It's a fun card tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. It's a fun card today. I'm glad that we were able to stay on the turf here. We're yielding for the rest of the turf races today. There's no rain in the forecast tonight or tomorrow, so we should be what I'm guessing is going to be good or fast good tomorrow over over Big Sandy. So that should be fun to have that track in good condition. All the races on the turf, and one of the things I've been harping on with all the shows I've been doing, man. Tomorrow runs 4 to 5 to 6 horses deep every single big race. I mean, you have to take stands and take positions because you can go a lot of different directions in these big time stakes races. And so it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Hopefully we can avoid the chalk. We get some prices home and cash a couple more tickets.
Just do what Mike does. Play chalk when it's necessary. Press the opinions, and then wait for that 15-1 that's going to come up there and make it a really spicy one for you. Make sure you follow us on Twitter because if/when there are more changes to these tickets, that's where we're going to be posting them. I am at Curtis Kellward. He is at SummerBomb18, number 1, number 8. Corporate Warlords at Racing_Dudes. They are at Belmont Park right now. Aaron, I think, is already having enough drinks here to serve an entire naval ship, and it's only Friday afternoon. So now is the time to go over there because when Aaron drinks and gets this level of drunk, you don't pay for a darn thing. So if you want to drink for free at Belmont this weekend, wait about 30 minutes after the gates open, and Aaron will be nice and proper drunk. He'll just buy your drinks all weekend. Mr. Salmich, are you traveling back home yet? Do you still have a little bit more going on in LA? What's going on with you?
No, we're just cruising now. We're going to be heading out of LA here later this week, heading up to Santa Barbara where we got married, then Santa Cruz where Jenna was born. So doing a nice little Cali trip up the coast. You may not see me on Magic Mike next week, so hopefully we can get these home and then take a little time off and just count the money from the big bombs cashes on Belmont weekend.
That is exciting. I love, if you haven't been to those two places, but very different, but Santa Barbara and Santa Cruz, very gorgeous places. Hopefully the weather holds up for you, because every time that I've gone to Santa Cruz, it's like the big old fog just rolls right in. And I'm like, man, on a sunny day, this is going to be a really pretty place to be.
That's a San Francisco or Northern Cal problem in general, though. I mean, that's not uncommon.
Thank you once more for following us. We really appreciate it, guys. I'll be back on Monday. Sounds like Mike will be traveling. That's fine. We'll find someone. At that point, Mike will just be busy counting his money. And if you bought the Sama Bombs, hopefully you will too. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb, because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
Forgot to say, go Tiz the Magician in the Brooklyn Stakes, baby. Gotta get that home. 400K. Let's do it. Come